Hey guys, welcome back to Cough Country. It's Steve with the Cannabis News. I got something good for you. Let's take a look, see what we got. We start over in Hawaii, where they just passed a bill that puts them inches away from legalization. But they're not out of the woods yet, so don't go anywhere there. Then we take a look at Washington State Cannabis, which is getting greener than it's ever been. Might just surprise you. And finally, a Canadian study is saying that marijuana legalization actually means bad news for breweries. So we got all that and more coming to you right now on Cough Country News.
No sticks, no seeds, just news.
From the Cough Country News Desk, it's Steve with your Cannabis News.
The Hawaiian Senate passed a bill to legalize recreational marijuana and create a regulated and taxed market for adult use. The bill that was written by the Attorney General would also create a new Hawaiian hemp and cannabis authority to oversee the industry, as well as a cannabis control board to oversee them. A new cannabis enforcement unit in the police department would handle sales to youth and crack down on all that black market stuff. There are even provisions in there to automatically expunge appropriate cannabis offenses from people's records, which has been a big ask from social justice reform for quite a while. But don't roast that pig just yet, because this bill has to pass through the House of Representatives, who's going to decide if they want to fund this whole thing. And there's plenty of opposition in there. Even cannabis activists aren't totally happy with the bill. First off, people who have been pushing for cannabis reform say this bill establishes arbitrary DUI laws that'll put people with 10 nanograms of THC in their blood under arrest. But there's no science to back up the claim that that's too much. And with how long THC can stay in your system, that 10 nanograms could have been from days or weeks ago. And anyone found with loose cannabis or paraphernalia in their car is looking at 30 days in jail. And none of that seems to make any sense. Now, there's a lot of pushback from those in the government as well. The Hawaiian government is heavily Democratic, but they've been squashing legalization attempts for years, even though they were one of the first ones to approve of medical cannabis back in 2000. But legislative hesitancy means no dispensaries open for 15 years, and decriminalization didn't happen until 2020. Many people are saying the promise of legal cannabis just won't deliver, and reformers are just wearing those rose-colored glasses. They look at some of the issues states like New York and California have been having and claim that the rise in rampant homelessness, drug abuse disorder, and violent crime that they see are the direct result of cannabis legalization in those states. Now, many members are also parroting disproven myths like marijuana is a gateway drug and legalization means the youth will just become addicted to cannabis. Even the Attorney General who wrote the legalization bill says she does not support marijuana legalization, but she at least acknowledges that it's probably going to happen anyway. So the bill is being handed around the House of Representatives, and if they get something together that they like, it'll go to the governor's desk. A majority of Hawaiians support legalization and say prohibition has done more harm than good in their communities. And after decades of waiting to light up in freedom, they're hoping they only have to wait a little bit longer. All right, guys, we'll be right back with just a word from our friend, our sponsor. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more news.
This is cannabis. And this is cannabis. And this is cannabis. And this is cannabis. When you put them all together, you've got medicine.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. That wasn't too bad, was it? Let's get back into the news. Washington State is taking going green to a whole new level. A new bill is going to combat methane emissions in the state by allowing cannabis farmers to sell the waste from their grows, recycle it, and keep it out of landfills. After the growing season comes to an end, farmers have harvested last of those sticky buds. There's usually quite a bit of plant material left over. And where does all that go? More often than not, all that cannabis waste gets packed up and dumped into a landfill where it takes up space and produces methane gas as it decomposes. And it's more than you might think. Washington state landfills produce 1.5 million metric tons of methane per year. And that number's just going up. In fact, it was so concerning that the state passed a bill in 2022 that said they were going to try to divert more organic material away from landfills in order to bring that number down. And that's where Senate Bill 5376 comes in. The idea of it was to reduce cannabis waste and methane emissions and put a few more dollars in the cannabis industry's pocket at the same time. In a nutshell, it'll allow cannabis producers to sell their cannabis waste to the public. And when they say cannabis waste, they're talking about stems, leaves, roots, stalks, that kind of thing. Anything over 0.3% THC is considered dangerous waste. And since marijuana is federally illegal, it's a whole big thing to dispose of it. And that won't change till the DEA decides to change it. But the stems and roots, they're up for sale. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who wants to buy the leftover trash from a cannabis grow? It sounds crazy, but it actually might wind up making a pretty big difference. Remember, these are basically bits of hemp here, and there's lots you can do with that. Most people, at least at first, will probably be using it for composting material for agriculture, but it can also be used to make all sorts of hemp products like hempcrete, a concrete made from hemp, insulation, clothing, even different plastics. And it's not like it's a small amount either. No, one producer based in Spokane said he dumps 2,200 pounds of cannabis waste every month into the landfill. He fills up a whole 40-yard dumpster container and has to pay $600 to get it taken away. And that's just one of over 1,000 other producers in the state. Seth Chamber of Blue Roots Cannabis said this doesn't do our society any good to be continuing to fill landfills, especially when it's being mixed with non-organic garbage, piling up, or being put into plastic contractor bags before it's dumped. So it looks like this could benefit everyone involved. But there are going to be a few rules, of course. The waste sold can't have any THC or pesticides. It has to be available to the public on an equal and non-discriminatory basis. No favors now. And all the purchase details, including who bought it and how much they paid, have to be reported to the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. And after that, we'll be one step closer to zero waste cannabis. Marijuana is putting a boot in beer's keister, eh? A recent survey done in Canada, one of the few countries to actually have a fully legal cannabis market, found that marijuana legalization has led to a decline in beer sales. Canadian tax revenue from cannabis is actually surpassing that of wine and beer. They legalized adult use marijuana in 2018, and beer sales keep dropping year after year. That translates into a decline of 1.3 million gallons of beer per month since legalization hit. And the fact that one is going up while the other is going down suggests that a substitution effect is going on here. So people are replacing that beer with the chiba. They aren't so much trying to use it together. Decades of scientific research have pounded into us the dangers of alcohol and tobacco and the negative health consequences that come from that. A lot of people see cannabis as a safer, less addictive alternative. Some people even say that cannabis is less addictive than technology. Cannabis research might not necessarily support that claim just yet. The science is still in its infancy and there are effects of cannabis use, but that perception is still there. And people are flocking to marijuana in droves as their intoxicant of choice. But funny enough, if you look at the numbers, sales of spirits like vodka and whiskey stayed pretty much the same. So did bottled beer. It was all cans and kegs that caught the decline. So some people are pointing at this and saying the shift is happening specifically in at-home consumption. At one point, bottled beer was the mark of quality, and only mass-produced stuff came in a can. But that is not the way anymore. Today, almost 70% of craft brewers are putting their products in cans. They're cheaper, stronger, easier to ship, and do more to block oxygen and UV rays from getting in there and messing with the beer itself. So it looks like people are still slugging their suds at the tailgate or the happy hour, but at home on the couch, they're sparking a joint and over-cracking a brew. The U.S. is still continuing with its slow, lumbering state-by-state legalization as the federal government stays on the sidelines. But several states are following Canada's example. In Michigan, cannabis sales outpaced beer, wine, and liquor combined. So did Illinois, Colorado. Colorado marijuana beat out alcohol and cigarettes together, and Arizona and Washington states are coming up on similar mile markers. The general shift is also making big international money do a double take. A multinational investment bank thinks marijuana is a formidable competitor to alcohol. And over the next few years, they're guessing that cannabis will gain 20 million new consumers and amass a value of $37 billion, while millions continue their transition away from alcohol. All right, guys, thanks so much for checking us out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Cough Country News. You don't want to miss any of this stuff coming up next time, because here it's always no sticks, no seeds, just news. Thanks so much, guys.